Welcome to beautiful and sunny, well, not so sunny, but rainy and green Goa, where we have been riding this fantastic motorcycle. Hello and welcome to DriveSpark. I'm Stephen Neal and this is the TVS Ronin. It's one of those motorcycles that has surprised us and has really taught us to not judge a book by its cover and a motorcycle by its specs. So without further ado, let's dig deep and find out what makes this motorcycle so good. Is it a scrambler, is it a cruiser, or is it a roadster? Well, TVS says this motorcycle doesn't slot into any particular segment, and that makes it rather unique and, well, hashtag unscripted. So what is this motorcycle? Well, let's not really get bogged down by what this motorcycle is, but let's start talking about its design and what makes it look good, or, well, looks can be subjective. Let's talk about design. Now, starting up front, you've got the circular LED headlamp. Now, TVS says this is one of the most powerful headlamps in its segment. Well, we haven't really ridden it at night to verify that. However, judging by the reflection seen on those reflective signboards, well, I can tell you that it is pretty powerful. Now that is done, let's check out this unique T-shaped LED DRL. It's kind of blurred out, but it looks really nice. Gives this motorcycle a unique character. And then you've got the fender. So this is a metal fender, which is a rarity these days. So this mudguard looks really nice, finished well. You've got the Allen key bolts over here, that looks really nice. And then of course you've got the star attraction up front. These are the upside down forks by Showa. These are big piston forks and they have a profound effect on how this motorcycle rides, and I'll tell you about it while we're riding the motorcycle. Now, going a little behind, of course your attention is drawn to the wide and swept back handlebar. Well, it is really thick, it looks nice, and then, well, it has a good feel while riding too. And then you've got the single pod instrument cluster. So this is an LCD instrument cluster. It's got lots of information jam packed into one tiny screen. Now, yes, it becomes a little difficult to read out all the information while you are at speed, but yes, the most important stuff are very much visible, like the speed, you've got the kilometers, you've got the gear position indicator. All of these are very much visible and immediately grab your attention when you look at it. You've also got a few telltale lights over there, and, well, they give you important information about the vehicle and some of its functions. You've got the side stand down, neutral, headlamp on, indicator on, high beam on, etc. So that is the instrument cluster. Now, even in such a small screen, TVS has somehow managed to fit in a few connected features as well. So this can be connected to your smartphone and you can have turn-by-turn navigation on it, and you can get lots of information about the vehicle on your smartphone. So you do get your connected features as well. Now that that's done, let's check out this tank. It's a broad, muscular and pretty voluptuous tank. 14 liters is the capacity, and, well, with such a volume, well, you should be able to have a realistic range of more than 400 kilometers on a single tank, and that is great. Now you get this seat. The seat is pretty wide, very comfortable indeed. I'll tell you more about it while we're riding the motorcycle. Now let's talk about the side panels, because it looks really nice. Now this bit here is not functional. It looks nice and that's about it. You've got the side panel and the Ronin badging on it, and that pretty much sums up the side profile. Now getting to the engine. Now we've got silver fins on the cylinder and the rest of the engine is blacked out. That gives it a really nice finish. You also got the TVS badging on the engine casing. Well, it looks nice. The engine also forms an integral part of the design element of this motorcycle. We've got different colors also on offer, so it all blends in together to form a very aesthetic package. Now getting to the rear, things are very simple around here. So on the right side, you've got the exhaust, really stubby. It's a low hung exhaust, it's not upswept, but it looks really nice. And on the left side, you've got a really big sari guard, which I think most would want to remove almost immediately. There is yet another element that most of us would want to remove almost immediately after getting the motorcycle, and that is the humongous chain guard. Now this chain cover, well, we haven't really seen the likes of it ever in the Indian market. It is uniquely designed. It makes it look like there's a lot more going in there than just the chain, but, well, it is just the chain, and such a thick cover does seem a bit unnecessary for the chain. Now over at the rear, you've got a really thick fender. Looks really nice, again made of metal. There's no plasticky bit over here except for the reflectors and the rear number plate light. Well, everything is made of metal. And then you've got a single crystalline LED tail lamp. That pretty much sums up everything at the rear, and then your attention is drawn to this. Now the rest of the motorcycle looks really nice, but this one, the single piece grab rail, does look too functional, too practical. Well, it is easy to grab onto, of course, but it could have looked better. Well, that sums up the design aspect of the TVS Ronin. Now it's time to find out what it is like to ride and what are the elements of the motorcycle, the specifications that make it a brilliant ride. Well, let's get riding. At the beginning of the video, I had mentioned that the TVS Ronin is one of those motorcycles that surprised us in a good way, and well, that is because of the way it rides. Now, this performance comes as a result of that engine, and I'm going to run you through a few specifications of this engine first. So starting off with the capacity, it is a 225.9cc engine. It is a squared engine, which means that the bore and stroke is the same. It is 66 mm bore and 66 mm stroke, and what that simply means is it's got a perfect distribution of power and torque. An over square engine makes more power at higher RPMs, it revs faster. An under square engine is the opposite, it is torquier than an over square engine. But a proper squared engine is well, it's a rider's delight, so to say, if the rider doesn't like to rev the engine a lot. And TVS has really extracted a lot of performance from this engine. It doesn't look like it yet because of the specifications. In terms of specifications, this engine puts out 20.12 bhp and 19.9 Nm. Now this 19.9 Nm comes in at a very low RPM, that is 3750 RPM, and that there is a secret to this engine's performance, because it's very easy to get to 3750 RPM, and once you get to 3750 RPM, you're already at peak torque and the motorcycle keeps moving without much effort in every single gear, and that is the beauty of this motorcycle. Now TVS says this motorcycle can be what you want it to be, and it is unscripted. Well, that is true, especially thanks to this engine. Now if you want to have a relaxed ride, well, you can use this engine and its low torque and this entire torque wave. You can ride on that torque wave and extract the most performance out of it. However, if you're looking at revving the engine, well, it does that too, except that it gets a little coarse and a little stressed over 7000 RPM. Well, now that that's out of the way, let's talk about what it is like to ride. Now, as I said, the motorcycle has a very relaxed riding position. One look at it will tell you that it has a very relaxed riding position, and when you sit on it, well, it comes into reality. It's very comfortable, and you can clock a lot of miles on this motorcycle for sure. And that is not just because of the riding position, but also because of the engine and the way it delivers the power. As I already said, it's very torquey and you can ride that torque wave all day. And what makes it even more interesting is the exhaust note. Now the exhaust sounds really nice while revving it, or at low RPM while you're cruising or you're going through town. The engine sounds really nice thanks to that exhaust note. TVS has specifically worked on getting this particular exhaust note out of this motorcycle, and it's not just the exhaust that contributes to it, it's even the air filter, the exhaust expansion chambers, and even the camshaft. Yes, they have included a self-oiling dampening mechanism for the camshaft that gives it that unique tone, that unique noise. Now that we have crossed the engine, let's get to the suspension. Up front is a Showa big piston fork, upside down of course, and well, this really adds to the handling. It is more towards the rigid side, but it doesn't hamper comfort at all. It is very comfortable indeed, and some of that credit does go to the seat, but the motorcycle rides really well, and also it doesn't dive hard on braking. You do not feel any kind of stretching in the chassis. The handling is brilliant. Of course, it's not a corner carver. You cannot expect it to go and blitz a racetrack, but when you're riding out on the road, be it on the highway or you're taking a few curves, this motorcycle can do really well. And then you get to the rear suspension. The monoshock really absorbs the bumps really well, and it also softens up even more when there's a pillion rider sitting on the motorcycle. So that pretty much sums up how the motorcycle handles. For the braking, you get dual channel ABS with this motorcycle, and you get two ABS modes. You get the urban and the rain mode. Now it's been raining cats and dogs out here in Goa while we've been riding this motorcycle, and I can safely say that the rain mode does work wonders. The motorcycle didn't even step out one bit, even under hard braking. I did try some emergency braking maneuvers and the motorcycle did not step out of its line. And that brings us to the tires, because these tires are works of art. Now it's based on the same Remora compound that is found in the TVS Ntorq, and a few other TVS racing motorcycles use it as well. Now the TVS Remora compound was already incredible in those motorcycles and scooters, and TVS has now introduced a block pattern on it, a dual purpose pattern, and that has made it even better, especially across all terrains. And this tire was specifically developed for the Ronin. Up front you've got a 110 by 70 section, and at the rear you've got a 130 by 70 section tire. These are TVS Eurogrip tires, of course, and well, one instance really tells you what these tires are. I did the emergency braking test on this motorcycle, and there was some pulsation from the rear brake pedal because the ABS kicked in, but the front tire held so well that the ABS didn't even kick in, and that pretty much sums up how this tire grips. If it's this grippy in the wet, it is definitely a lot grippier in the dry too, and we can easily make that out from this. And that pretty much sums up what the TVS Ronin is. It can do what you ask it to do. It can go off-road, and you even want to take it off-road because of its fun to ride characteristics. However, when you stand up on the foot pegs, the handlebar is too swept back for a good and comfortable standing experience on the motorcycle, and that is why you cannot take it off-road. But the motorcycle is very well capable of doing it. So that pretty much sums up what the TVS Ronin is. It is a fantastic motorcycle to ride, and trust me, this motorcycle will surprise you. Unscripted was the word that TVS used to describe this motorcycle in the product presentation before we rode it, and well, we didn't really understand it then, but once we've ridden it, we know why TVS called it unscripted. It doesn't really conform to a segment. It doesn't really slot into a particular thought of motorcycling. In fact, it can do a lot more than just being a cruiser or just being a scrambler or a roadster for that matter, and that is why this motorcycle is in the winning books for us. Well, how it performs in the market, well, we will have to wait and see, but in terms of riding pleasure, this motorcycle can do it all. And on that note, it's time for us to end. Thank you so much for watching. Do stay tuned to DriveSpark for more, and also if you have any queries about this motorcycle or if you have any thoughts on it, do let us know in the comment section. And this is Stephen Neal signing off for DriveSpark. Stay safe and ride safe.